Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Michelle Amidzich, and I am the Editor-in-Chief of the Vermont Journal of Environmental Law, also known as VJEL. I am honored to have the privilege of introducing you all to today's event, A World of Waste in a Wasteful World. VJEL is excited to provide an amazing opportunity, the amazing opportunity for you all to hear from the practitioners, industry experts, and valuable members of the community. The panels today include topics of waste disposal as intended, policy management, ocean and water pollution, and CERCLA. Each panel will facilitate discussions about legal efforts to managing society's unwanted outputs from toxins to plastics to trash and more. The goal is that each and every one of you watching will take today's event as an invitation to become part of the solution and to think twice about where your purchased item will go after you use it. Because after all, everything must go somewhere. Planning an event in an uncertain world presents unique challenges. And I wanted to highlight all the hard work our symposium editors, Carolyn and Lucas Parcell, put into making this event exceptional. Creating and organizing an online event is no small task, but their unwavering flexibility and dedication allows VJEL to provide a more accessible and engaging event. I would also like to take a moment to thank our faculty advisor, John Echeverria, for his constant guidance, Associate Dean for the Environmental Programs and Director of the Environmental Law Center, Dean Jennifer Rushlow, Vermont Law School's Communication Department, with a special thanks to Karen Henderson, Justin Campfield, and Aiden. Our moderators, Professors Patrick Brentow, Pamela Veselind, Sarah Ryder, and John Echeverria. Thank you to our panelists and keynote speaker, Josh Kelly, and the many, many people who took the time out of their days to make this happen. Again, thank you for taking your Saturday to join us for this wonderful event. And with that, I am pleased to introduce VJEL's infamous faculty advisor, John Echeverria.
Thank you, Michelle. I thought Pat Parento was infamous. I rarely get that accolade, but I'll accept it. Well, welcome all. And I'm sorry we're not all in person, as I'm sure you all are as well. But so far, so good, right? First of all, I want to congratulate all those involved in mounting this event and getting us launched successfully. And I'm sure it'll be a great day. Congratulations in particular to Michelle Amidzich and the Symposium editors, Carolyn and Lucas Parcell, and also all those who've supported and helped this effort. I particularly want to thank the speakers who are dedicating time and effort to this important subject. I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you today. I especially want to stress how grateful we are that some of you are considering submitting written materials for publication in VJEL. This symposium is an important source of articles that VJEL publishes, and we're proud each year to publish a symposium issue based on the contributions of the speakers. I also want to particularly single out Josh Kelly for thanks from the DEC Solid Waste Program and his willingness to serve as our keynote speaker. As Michelle mentioned, I'm the proud faculty advisor to VJEL, and as you will gather, if you have not already learned, given the energy and dedication of the VJEL staff, serving as their advisor is pretty light duty. But it's one I carry out proudly. VJEL has been around since 1996. The Vermont Law School has long been a preeminent institution in environmental and law and policy, and the VJEL is an important component of our institutional commitment to environmental law. In a sense, it embodies our commitment to that important subject area. I'll just note that VJEL has long been, and as far as I know, remains the sole exclusively online publication. So just as with any law review article published today, you can find it on Westlaw or online, but with us, that's the only place you can find it. And that's my way of thinking, all to the good. So I was, in thinking about this and looking forward to this conference, I was reflecting a bit on how modern and recent the history is of thinking of waste disposal. and that we've really gone through an enormously rapid evolution in recent years, and no doubt we will, as a society, undergo the same kind of evolution going forward. And offering this historical perspective is particularly easy for me, as I'm much closer to the end of my career than I am to the beginning. I find increasingly that in dealing with environmental problems, I can recall the beginning of the environmental problem or the development project that created an environmental problem in my youth, and now later generations are trying to repair or restore in response to it. But just two, for instances, one in my hometown of Stratford, we have the Elizabeth Mine Superfund site. The Elizabeth Mine was a very substantial, important copper mine. The ore was discovered at the end of the 18th century, and mining began in the very early 19th century. And for many years, the mine was very productive. It was the largest employer in town. And it lasted for a long time, finally closing in 1958, largely for economic reasons. Rumor has it that a few decades later, a former EPA employee, or perhaps then EPA employee by the name of Pat Parento, looked at the site and said, I think maybe this has some Superfund implications. Well, to make a very long story short, $100 million later, the EPA is on the brink of completing its cleanup of the Elizabeth Mine site and turning over the facility for long-term monitoring to the state of Vermont. The capstone of the story is that the now level surface that has been created on top of the tailings pile is a 5 megawatt solar farm, providing all the power that the town of Stratford would need to serve its electricity needs. The other thing I wanted to reflect on was just basic solid waste, and I have a couple of perspectives on this. One is I'm a rural landowner in the area, and own an area of fields and forests. And one of the things I soon discovered after purchasing the property is it's littered with dumps. I have half a dozen cars, including a Nash Rambler, a Cadillac, a couple of Fords, and miscellaneous junk piles. And my understanding is that in fact is the sort of traditional pattern, that until well into the 20th century, to the extent waste was not recycled and it was disposed of on site on rural properties. The second phase of the evolution was the emergence of the town dump. And my understanding, in the 40s and 50s, Vermont had some 200 town dumps, unlined landfills. Interestingly, the last of the landfills in Vermont closed, municipal landfills closed in 2019. And now we have a single sanitary landfill in the state of Vermont up in the upper reaches of the state, which I no doubt you'll hear more about. It strikes me that one of the interesting consequences of this evolution is that we are a lot less close to our waste than we used to be. It used to be we would put it in our backyard, and then we would put it in our town dump. And I remember as a kid making weekly pilgrimages with my parents to the local town dump. And now we put it in a bag, or maybe we take it to a transfer station. And in a real world sense, we have no idea where it goes. And it just goes away, and we're grateful for that. And I think that evolution, whatever other benefits it has made the whole waste issue somewhat less salient to us, and makes it easier for us to ignore it. And thankfully, this conference is a recognition that waste remains a paramount importance, and so I'm delighted we're addressing the issue. So anyway, I offer that sort of historical perspective, and just want to emphasize how recent and how the law and policy regarding waste is, and how rapidly it has evolved, and how rapidly the practice of waste disposal has evolved, and no doubt going forward. And thankfully, our focus, I hope, for the rest of the day will be to look forward rather than look back. We should keep in mind the pattern of evolution and change that has brought us to this point. So thank you for indulging me. I believe, who am I? I'm handing this over to Carolyn and Lucas. Is that correct?
That's correct. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Vermont Journal of Environmental Law's 2021 Symposium, The World of Waste in a Wasteful World. We want to thank you all for attending, but first, we want to say that we hope you, your families, and friends are staying safe during the pandemic. Typically, the symposium is held in person, but we made the switch early on to a complete virtual format in order for us to stay safely together and gather for such an important conversation. In February, Lucas and I started working on this symposium. We wanted to touch on critical topics of environmental law, but root them in one common theme. As I'm sure you know by now, there are 4 topics of panels today: waste disposal, policy management and litigation, ocean and water pollution, and CERCLA. All of our topics today are rooted in one concept: waste. Each of our 4 panels play a key role in our society as a whole. And what better person to speak on the overall topics and their root in waste than our keynote speaker, Josh Kelly. And now, over a year after COVID-19 has taken its toll, and since we initially established all of our panels, these topics have proven to be more important than ever before. Today, we have speakers from across the United States. We want to apologize we couldn't give you a trip to Vermont in the fall, which, if you don't know, is the best time to be here. But we are excited to hear your insights and thoughts today. I have a few quick thank yous. First, I want to thank you, all the VLS professors and staff who have helped us get to this point today. Law school can be quite the challenge sometimes. Each employee of this incredible school has helped shape Lucas and me to become who we are today, and for that, we are thankful. Next, I want to thank Professor Echeverria, Fido Andre, Michelle Amidzich, and Justin Campfield, and Karen Henderson for all their work with helping put together the symposium. And finally, I want to thank Lucas Parcell, my fellow symposium editor. For all of you watching, thank you. Now I'll pass it over to Lucas.
Morning, everyone. I'm Lucas Parcell, your other symposium editor, and welcome to our symposium. I'd actually like to begin with the thanks. And first of all, I'd actually like to thank Carolyn, who, truth be told, deserves more thanks than anyone for putting this symposium together, myself included. I'd like to thank the speakers and moderators who put the time to prepare their works for the symposium and are all taking a Saturday out of their lives to speak to all of us. I'd like to thank the VLS staff, particularly John for being our advisor, and then Justin, Aiden, and Karen who helped with various IT and marketing concerns. I'd like to thank the VJEL Executive Board, who advised Carolyn and I through the planning process. And in particular, I'd like to thank Michelle and Fido, who at various points put time aside to help us with little things. And then lastly, and perhaps most importantly, I'd like to thank Mother Earth, who puts up with our garbage while we try and figure out how to clean up our own mess. It's a quiet service. We don't thank it enough. But moving on from thanks, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on what waste entails. People often think of, the food wrappers and the foam popcorn, etc., that you put in the bin at home and occasionally it finds its way onto the side of a road. But waste is a lot more than that. For one, every aspect of a community, not just households, stores, factories, even your infrastructure, is somehow, some way going to produce waste. Everything that's keeping your proverbial village together is producing waste. Secondly, not just the village is not the only thing producing waste. Estimates are not super precise, but we should be hitting 7.9 billion humans on the planet right now. That's a lot of villages. But perhaps more fundamentally, waste is a lot more than just the things you throw away and put in bins and call trash. It's also, the things that your waste breaks down into and washes away. It's any ash, particulate, and grime that your factories or other businesses produce. It's all that food that is harvested and grown, but not ultimately eaten. Incidentally, that includes that sauce on that pan that you told your spouse you were going to clean last night. You should probably get to that. But summing it all up, waste is the totality of humanity's unwanted outputs. There's a lot of humanity around. And I bring this all up not to down the mood, but I just want to remind everyone watching that waste is a big deal. It's a broader deal than you might expect. And there's a lot of subcategories within it. It's not just the waste you throw in your bin. So as we all settle in to hear our wonderful guests speak, let us remember that solving these issues requires a little bit more than dutiful recycling. And we owe it to ourselves and our children to search for solutions, as is the case with any environmental matter. Thank you for your time. Our first panel will be at 9. There will be a brief break between these introductory remarks, and then we look forward to seeing you there.